This video is about our opinions on the school system and the hierarchy.
And this is aimed for youth-focused teens and people who can make a change.
Hi, I'm Yudhveer.
And I'm Ehsan.
I'm 15.
I'm 16.
My name is Michele, I'm 30.
I'm Gabriella and I'm 14.
How does someone making decisions for you affect or benefit your future?
Sometimes it's quite bad because they're making the decision. If I don't agree with it, then it's highly likely that I'm not going to want to do what they're saying. But I'd have to. I wouldn't want to, so it'd just be bad in that sense.
So do you like to make your own choices for your future?
Yeah.
Right now?
Food tech, drama, geography, and health and social care.
Do you enjoy your subjects?
Some of them, yeah.
I study English, maths, science, Spanish, and for my GCSEs I'm going to be studying business.
Do you enjoy these subjects?
I mainly enjoy Spanish, science, and business.
I study history, Spanish, maths, music, and media.
Which one was your favourite?
I think I'd say history and media, because I really enjoy those subjects.
If you had the choice in school, what would you prefer to learn?
In my future, I'd like to learn about things that go on in real life, like for example, dealing with money and just all the things that happen in real life.
How useful are the things you're learning right now?
They're useful, but it could be better. For example, in maths, instead of learning things like ratios, we could be learning how to do things that are helping us with to get jobs accounting or banking and things like that.
Real life skills such as business and finance, teaching kids stuff about taxes and the different types of taxes we have to pay in the future, like council tax. I think they benefit my future a lot because I feel like it gives me a lot of opportunities for a lot of different jobs.
Out of the students, teachers and the head teacher, which order would you put it in and why?
I put it students, teacher, and head teacher. A lot of students, the whole time, they wouldn't work out because teachers and head teachers will come in to teach the students how to live in the human world and to how keep communicating, teamwork together.
I would put the students, then teachers, then head teacher, mainly because students are the ones that are getting educated, so they shouldn't really be treated as a bottom.
In my opinion, I'd put students first, then teachers, and then head teacher. Because without students, then the whole school system really breaks.
Like Yudhveer said, I think it'd be students first, teachers, and then head teachers.
Do you agree or disagree with the hierarchy system and why?
I agree with it mainly because I'm living it at the moment, so I wouldn't really change it.
Currently, I kind of agree with it because I'm just used to it at this point, but if I could change it, it would be what I just said. But yeah, I kind of agree with it now, I guess.
I kind of agree with it since I've been following it my whole life till now. So I basically agree with it, but in a way I disagree as well because I think students should be given a lot of decision making of what they would want to learn. So yeah.
I agree because I've gotten used to it.
If you were in a teacher's position, would your view of the hierarchy change?
I changed some of it for the student so it could be manageable for it.
If I was in the teacher's position, I think it'd stay as it is because like, I feel like teachers would always be like in the middle of the hierarchy. Like, it's either the students would be first or the head teacher would be first.
Not really, because of either way, they're in the middle, so it's like students first or head teachers, and yeah, they're not really prioritized, or just like in between.
Did you ever feel scared to tell your parents what you want to do in your GCSEs?
No, not necessarily, because like my parents are more like supportive for like whatever I want to do. So I could change my mind whenever I needed. Like still support me on what I want to do.
At first I was a bit hesitant, but moving on, they were a bit more supportive with my decisions, so I felt comfortable speaking with them.
I was scared because they usually tell me like what to do when I was younger, so I'd be scared to tell them what I want to do. So I talked to them the night before my decisions, and they supported me about my decisions.
Do you worry knowing that you have missed out on education and might not get your expected GCSE mark?
At first I was worried, but like now I don't really worry as much because I've still got like a year to revise the things I need to revise, and I just hope I'll be good.
Are you confident in yourself?
Yeah, because I think if I had that time to study, then I would have like a higher grade than how I would have now.
Yeah, I do kind of worry, but it really isn't our fault. But we gotta make the most out of it.
How would you feel if it was your child?
I support him the most because he's my child. I've gone through teenage years and childhood years, so I'd be able to support him in any single way.
Honestly, I would understand the experience because I would have went through it myself as well. So I wouldn't want that to really happen to them.
Yeah.
How could you help young people have more say on their decisions on their future?
So I would probably give young people a platform in which they can have more of a say and give them more power in doing so. And on that platform, it would be pretty cool to have, say for instance, directors or managers alongside that, whereby they can kind of witness some of the work that the young people are doing and see what sort of interventions they can kind of like put forward.
I think I try and do that with my job, where I do sort of these interviews and getting you guys making videos and taking them to people who make decisions to get them to listen. But I also think, me personally within my job, what I could do more of is speaking to teachers, to senior teams within schools that I work in, youth clubs that I work in, and take a lot of the information that maybe doesn't get recorded on interviews from the conversations we have and actually almost put pressure on those people to make those changes. So finding more like tangible ways to have young people in the room making decisions, but also holding the adults to account to make sure they're actually doing what they say that they're going to do.
I think starting off with like giving young people the opportunity to speak and allowing them their voices to actually be heard in a meaningful way. So making sure that whatever they say is taken back and used in a way that they can see their changes are being heard. Like if they were to hear about grading systems, or if they wanted to hear about job opportunities for post-16, finding an easy way that they have suggested and bringing that forward, like seeing actual tangible results from the input that they give, instead of making it kind of tokenistic where they simply just hear it and they're giving the information but they never see really anything come of it.
What could young people do to have more power over decisions?
I think for young people to have more power over their decisions, it takes a stance, like you have to put yourself forward. Sometimes young people may speak, but when it's when adults are listening, they listen, but they don't actively listen until you really put your voice forward and make yourself heard. And that can be difficult, especially if you're in an environment where you're used to being kind of spoken for instead of spoken to or spoken with. So yeah, I think giving young people and helping them develop their voice in an honest way so that they can feel like they can say what they're feeling, what they think, how they feel, and know that their voice has meaning.
There's two parts to this. I don't think it's young people's responsibility necessarily to find a way to make their voices heard. I think it's adults around them that should be guiding them through that. So I guess it's helping young people find the tools to be able to have their voice heard. But I don't think that responsibility lies on young people, because that's quite a lot to put on young people, that they have to sort of find a way to have their voice heard. And actually mostly it's to do with the fact that young people talk about what changes they want to see. It's that the other people aren't necessarily listening properly. So yeah, just building those tools and sort of taking responsibility off young people and putting it back on the adults.
Personally, I know it was for me as a young person, it was quite hard to be quite open, and I think sometimes that's kind of down to the staff and the environment to make it open, but I feel like amongst young people, they're quite comfortable amongst each other, and say for instance, doing this sort of stuff, like interviews and stuff, is quite a good way of getting sort of information out of them, and that way, going on with like forwards, we're being able to kind of like provide that for them. Just being open-minded, I suppose, and just talking, and just, yeah.
I want young people to learn that when you choose for when you miss out on education, it is very scary, but you can make out the most of what you've done already.
They should believe in themselves.
To speak up and get their point across, because not many people do.
And like, they're not the only one who has like the same opinion. Like, there's other people with the same opinion.
So what do you want adults and decision makers to
I guess like adults will like support their child no matter what, like whatever. It might not be the same steps as you take as like teenage years, but at least support them what they like.
But they shouldn't be too hard on them. Like they could be struggling, like just give up on them, just keep supporting them, don't give up on them.
So like listen to the young people and not do whatever they say, but like make a change, because yeah, just make a change for them.
To give them like a beneficial future.